The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Protecting Trademarks on the Blockchain, as presented by the president of EnCirca, Tom Barrett. So a little bit of background on the presenter. Tom Barrett has recently given talks in the Middle East DNS Forum in Dubai last February on emerging trends in the DNS, provenance, Internet of Things, and blockchain. He also gave a talk last March in Kobe, Japan at ICANN 65 on blockchain, Internet of Things, and the DNS. So EnCirca is the first ICANN accredited registrar for Ethereum's .eth permanent registrar. EnCirca is also the exclusive trademark sunrise agent for .zil blockchain TLD. And EnCirca is already integrated with Ethereum for ICANN TLDs such as .lux and .xyz. This will be today's webinar agenda. We'll start off with the brand protection challenge that trademark attorneys face on blockchain domain names. And we'll go into the overview, new domain names, wallet management, and domain names launching now. I'd like to remind everyone that this webinar will be recorded and available on EnCirca's website. And at any point throughout the webinar, if you do have any questions, please answer them or ask them in the chat on your GoToWebinar application. And now I'll hand it off to Tom Barrett.
Thanks, Andrew. And so let's talk about the brand protection challenge for trademark owners in terms of the blockchain. And what's happening is blockchains are launching domain name extensions to map human readable domain names to blockchain digital assets. So why is this a problem? Well, look at these. There's about 16 or so existing blockchain TLDs that are already live on the blockchain today, from .bit, ETH, ZIL, Coin, and so on. You may probably have not heard of any of these, but they're all live today on the blockchain. So why is this a problem? Because there's no regulation of these TLDs. There's no ICANN. There's no World Intellectual Property Organization. There's no U.S. Department of Commerce or NTIA. None of these regulatory agencies are involved in deciding what new extensions will be launched on the blockchain. This means there's no trademark protections. There's no trademark clearinghouse. There's no publicly available who is to find out who owns a blockchain domain name. And there's no dispute mechanism such as UDRP or URS. So I'd like to give you a quick overview of the blockchain. This is not intended to be a technical tutorial on the blockchain, but I want to provide you with enough details so you understand how trademarks are being impacted with the blockchain. So the best example of a blockchain in the real world or physical world is what's called a general ledger. And a general ledger, which has been used for centuries by businesses, is a complete record of all the financial transactions of that business throughout its life. Now, a ledger can also be used to record other transactions as well that are non-financial, such as ownership changes of real estate or even content updates to a document. So blockchain basically takes that general ledger concept, places it up on the internet, and so it's a comprehensive, up-to-date, real-time ledger of transactions. And the transactions can be financial related, or they can be ownership of physical assets. Every record is encrypted and time-stamped so that it cannot be tampered with. Users can only edit the part of the blockchain that they own, and they gain access to the file only because they have a private key that allows them to. This also ensures that everyone's copy of the blockchain is kept in sync. So blockchain investments have been exploding. So there are billions and billions of venture capital money. Nearly every Fortune 500 company has built up development teams to put part of their business on the blockchain for their customers. Some of the leading blockchains, you've heard of Bitcoin. Bitcoin actually has been around for over 10 years now. As you know, it's the largest and first cryptocurrency. Ethereum is more of a general purpose blockchain that enables not only financial transactions for cryptocurrency, but other applications. Ripple is focused on the financial services market, but others include EOS, Hyperledger, IBM, Corda, R3, Tron, and Zilliqa. As I mentioned earlier, the blockchain uses cryptography. And cryptography, if you're familiar, is typically a public key and a private key that work in tandem to make transactions possible. Cryptocurrencies don't actually exist in physical shape, and they can't technically be stored anywhere. So it's the private keys used to access your public cryptocurrency and digitally sign for it that needs to be securely stored. So in a sense, your private key acts as a personal digital signature. And if a record is altered, the signature will become invalid. And if you lose your key, then you lose access to your cryptocurrency. So the primary way that you interact with the blockchain is via a blockchain wallet. So a blockchain wallet is not used to store cryptocurrency, but it's actually, you can think of it as a payment gateway or software that allows you to buy, sell, and monitor your balance for cryptocurrency. So the blockchain wallet, instead of storing the cryptocurrency, is actually keeping a record of all the transactions related to the currency and storing them on the blockchain. And your wallet also contains your private key that enabled those transactions. So I call the blockchain e-commerce 2.0. And just as any business that wanted to do e-commerce on the internet needed to connect to a payment gateway, any business that wants to conduct transactions with cryptocurrency will need a blockchain wallet to share with their customers. The use of blockchain wallets is exploding. There are 40, 50 million wallets in use today on the blockchain. And with the recent announcement of Facebook, who's planning to release a cryptocurrency of their own, their 2 billion users will all have blockchain wallets in order to send and receive that cryptocurrency. So how do you interact with the blockchain today? You use a web browser. Opera, which is a mainstream web browser, supports blockchain access by default. There are also special blockchain browsers such as Brave and Blockstack. But if you prefer to stay with Google Chrome or Firefox, then there are plugins for free, such as MetaMask, that allows you to interact with the blockchain. So let's talk about new domain names and why trademark owners need to be aware of this. So I've been talking about blockchain wallets. This is how you do e-commerce on the blockchain. So for example, let's say EnCirca wanted to receive cryptocurrency in return for its services. We would advertise our blockchain wallet address, which could be a 40-character cryptographic string. So if you want to pay EnCirca in Bitcoin, you would send it to the address I'm showing you on the screen. Now, of course, we've seen this issue before. If only there was a more friendly way to share my wallet address so I can get paid. Essentially, blockchains have the same problem with digital wallets that DNS solved with websites 20 years ago. Ethereum calls it the Ethereum naming service. This is their version of the traditional DNS. They call it ENS for short. It offers a secure and decentralized way to address resources both on and off the blockchain using simple, human-readable names. In fact, it's so much intended to be like DNS that they're even co-opting the same DNS terminology and concepts. So they talk about an automated registrar that allows anyone, again, not limited to ICANN registrars, but anyone to register domain names ending in .eth. And they've even created a framework for managing the ENS root, similar to the DNS root. They even have root key holders for ENS, just like the DNS world. ENS has several advantages, however, over the traditional DNS. First of all, blockchain-based ENS does not have any central authorities, unlike the current DNS system, which is governed and controlled by organizations like ICANN and VeriSign. Every node in the blockchain network is equal and decentralized. There is no single point of control. The blockchain is censorship resistant. Only the owners can make changes in their current records. It is difficult for the authorities to make any changes in the domain name records. So this prevents a court, for example, from ordering someone to update the blockchain record. And the blockchain is scalable and secure much more than the current DNS. So back to blockchain wallets. In that example I gave you earlier, instead of giving you a 40-character string to send cryptocurrency to EnCirca, instead, with the blockchain Ethereum naming service, I can simply give you EnCirca.eth, the address of my wallet, in order to receive Bitcoin from customers. So .eth launched 2 years ago, in May 2017. They decided in this initial launch to limit domain names to 7 or more characters in length. They were able to sell 300,000 names in the past 2 years, which represents $28 million in deposits. And the top domain, in fact, sold for $3.5 million. If this was an ICANN new GTLD, and as you know, they have been launching for the past several years as well, .eth as a standalone TLD would rank in the top 20 of the new TLDs. In this section, I want to talk about wallet management, but I'll pause to see if there's any questions we should answer.
Yeah, we have 2 questions. The first would be, you mentioned Facebook and IBM blockchain. Is there an implication, or do you have any sense of the environment that other Fortune 500 companies will be developing their own blockchain?
Well, so the IBMs of the world and the Facebooks of the world are certainly, and probably Amazon and Google and a few others, would certainly want to build out, become the industry standard platform for blockchain development. And so I would imagine that there's quite a few companies hoping to be the platform of choice. Many of them, of course, will specialize either in financial services or shipping or medicine for their particular industry.
Thank you. And you also were referring to ETH, the Ethereum blockchain domain name, has already launched. But you mentioned there's no regulations or trademark protection authorities. What is to stop someone from going directly to Ethereum and simply asking them who owns their brand on .eth?
That's a great question, and actually one I asked myself of the Ethereum founders, and the short answer is they have no way of knowing who owns these domain names. Because the blockchain is completely decentralized, there is no single place or database to look up ownership of names. So all they can tell you is the name's been taken. They cannot, there's no way for them to determine who took it, and it's really up to the owner of that domain name to decide to reveal themselves.
Okay, thank you. And now it looks like we're ready to move on to wallet management.
So I want to explain at a high level the three types of blockchain wallets. They fall into two categories. They're either hot or cold. So a hot wallet means that it is connected live on the blockchain. A cold wallet means it's not. And so clearly, if you're live on the blockchain, that means you can conduct real-time blockchain transactions. It also means that you could be hacked by third parties. If you're looking at a cold wallet, then of course it's completely off the blockchain infrastructure and then thus more secure. So there are three different types of wallets. It could be software-based, hardware-based, or paper-based. Software-based typically are hot wallets, either in the cloud or on your PC or your phone. Hardware wallets are physical devices similar to the RSA tokens you might use to access your bank account, and they function both in a cold mode where they might be in your pocket, but once you plug them in, say via USB port, they become a hot wallet on the blockchain. And finally, we have paper wallets, which, as it implies, are pieces of paper, completely cold, completely off the blockchain, and certainly completely secure as long as you find a way to lock them up in a safe or safety deposit box. So you need to consider your wallet management strategy in terms of managing your blockchain assets. And there are new services emerging to provide custodianship for these blockchain assets if you'd rather not manage these yourself. And your management strategy may vary based on the type and the value of your digital assets. So for example, if you're managing $300 million in Bitcoin, you probably would not leave all 300 million in a hot wallet connected to the blockchain. You would only most of it you would segregate offline in a cold wallet and move the Bitcoin to a hot wallet on an as needed basis. And the reason I'm focusing on wallets is that they're not just used for managing cryptocurrency. And so if you're a brand owner and all you want to do is to protect your brand on these blockchain domain names, you still need a blockchain wallet just for managing those domain names. So again, the blockchain wallet is needed even if your business is not doing e-commerce on the blockchain. So before I get into the more specific domain names that are launching this summer, I'll pause to see if there are any questions.
Yes, there's a few questions, but they're all fairly similar. For the most part, would you relate a wallet to almost an account that you would have on a domain name registrar?
So I think of a wallet as a personal payment gateway. And so today, for example, EnCirca as a business, we might go through a third-party payment gateway to process credit cards, and it's fairly secure and expensive. With a blockchain wallet, I can basically run my own payment gateway to send and receive cryptocurrencies to third parties.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to domain names launching now.
So there are two blockchain TLDs in particular that we're aware of that are in active launch mode right now. I mentioned earlier Ethereum's .eth 2 years ago launched long character strings. They've sold 300,000 of those. This summer they're launching short character strings, 3 to 6 characters in length. The deadline for that is August 10th. And they are, even though there's no trademark clearinghouse, they do recognize prior rights for folks who already own an existing domain name in a GTLD or CCTLD. The second TLD launching this summer is .zil from the Zilliqa blockchain. They also are recognizing prior rights of trademark owners. There is no trademark clearinghouse involvement, but Zilliqa is recognizing trademark rights for both registered and unregistered trademarks, and their deadline is also August 31st. So let's talk a little bit about .eth TLD. So they have a deadline, as I mentioned, of August 10th. All the applicants in this phase for .eth must have a matching domain name in an existing GTLD or CCTLD. If there are multiple applications for the same domain name string, the applicant with the oldest domain name will be awarded that ETH domain name. And lastly, in order to demonstrate they actually own that existing domain name, they must update the DNS for it with a very specified record that will be provided to them as part of the application process. So let's give you an example of how adjudication may occur during this short character phase. And in my example, I'm using apple.eth, and we went to the traditional DNS and looked up some existing domain names for the Apple string. So apple.farm, for example, was registered in 2015. Apple.fm, the CCTLD used for radio, was registered in 2010. Apple.tv in the year 2000. And finally, apple.com all the way at the bottom in 1987. And so if only one of these folks applies for apple.eth, they will get apple.eth because they have no competition. But let's say apple.farm and apple.tv owners both apply for apple.eth. Clearly, apple.tv would be awarded the name because they registered in 2000, while apple.farm registered in 2015. So the intent here is that through a fairly automated public process, Ethereum is allocating these short character strings to existing trademark owners based on the longevity of their existing domain name. So EnCirca is offering these services via its website, and the pricing is based on the length of the string. So 3 character names are $1,920 a year, 4 character names, $480 a year, 5 and 6 character names are just $25 a year. And again, for all 3 of those, you must own an existing domain name in another TLD, and you will be awarded that name based on the creation date of that existing domain name. And as a reminder, the 7 or more character strings in .eth are available now in general availability on a first come, first served basis, also for $25 a year. So we're going to jump over to .zil. the other blockchain TLD launching this summer, they are following a different process than ETH. It's a newer blockchain. They actually went live several weeks ago and are offering names for sale today. However, prior to going live, they did reserve 75,000 trademarks, and those trademarks are reserved through October 10th, after which they will be released for general availability. So trademarks, any one of those trademarks may be claimed by a trademark owner. It is not required to be in the trademark clearinghouse in order to claim your trademark, and your trademark may be registered in a PTO or it may be common law. But once you've demonstrated rights in your trademark, you may then apply for any close similarity of that trademark in .zil. So the pricing for .zil from EnCirca, there is a one-time validation fee for $150. And as a reminder, EnCirca is the only company that is doing trademark validation for .zil on an exclusive basis with the EnCirca blockchain. The registration fee for .zil is just $30 per year, unless you have a 3-character domain, which is $500, or a generic name, which they've published a list, which is a $1,000 one-time fee. And then as an optional fee, EnCirca offers a wallet management service, custodian service of $30 per year. So that's our presentation for today. Thank you everyone for your attention, and I'll hand this back to Andrew to see if there's any questions.
Thank you, Tom. So we do have a few questions. I think it'll be best if I go back a couple slides for the first one. So for Zilliqa's blockchain domain name .zil, it mentions here auction ends on July 9th. What exactly is the auction if they're doing a sunrise period?
So Zilliqa, as shown here, actually started promoting their TLD back in January, and they started taking expressions of interest for different strings in .zil. And so they basically built up a queue of interest for various strings, many of them generic, and those went to auction and were finally allocated to the winners of the auction in early July, and then actually were added to the blockchain on July 9th. So as I said earlier, in parallel to that, they were provided a list of 75,000 trademarks, which they made sure were exempt from that auction process. And it is those 75,000 trademarks that trademark owners are given a window now to claim before they get released into general availability.
So I believe that is a nice transition to our next question. With their sunrise period, what is the likelihood that these 75,000 trademarks will become prone to cyber squatters?
Well, that's hard to guess. There's in fact, there's certainly more trademarks than 75,000, so the cyber squatting could be occurring even outside this window. Certainly, it's unreasonable to think that all 75,000 trademarks will be claimed, and so the typical sunrise within ICANN was several thousand. So I would think that if trademarks not claimed during this period, then it certainly could be claimed by anyone once the sunrise period ends.
Okay, thank you. And then going to the .zil pricing, these are one-time fees. So why is this a different structure than the typical domain name that is an annual fee? So
there's just part of the philosophy of the blockchain. Zilliqa wants to only charge a single fee because once it's been added to the blockchain, there's really nothing else for them to do. The work's been done in terms of adding something to the blockchain. There are no other transactions related to maintaining that record on the blockchain for Zilliqa. Ethereum, as you notice, has decided to charge an annual rent, and that's specifically designed to be a fund for future developments in Ethereum. And so Zilliqa's one-time pricing, EnCirca does offer an optional custodial fee so that we can manage your Zilliqa.zil domain names in a wallet for you, but that is separate from the Zilliqa blockchain.
And one final follow-up question to that. Could you please reiterate what exactly you mean by EnCirca managing the wallet?
So as I mentioned earlier, there's several different, you still need a blockchain wallet in order to manage the key, that private key that allows you to control the domain names that you're acquiring on the blockchain. So you have to have a private key and you need to have a wallet if you want to be able to, for example, update your domain name, access your domain name, etc. So as part of that, you have to decide what is your wallet strategy. Is it going to be a hot wallet? Is it going to be a cold wallet? Is it going to be software-based, hardware-based, or a combination of all three? And so our service EnCirca offers a hybrid wallet strategy to help you manage and control your domain names.
Okay, thank you. I am not seeing any other questions at this time. I'd like to remind people, if you do have any further questions, please email us at support@encirca.com or give us a call. If you are interested in further information, please go to encirca.com/chainprotect. There you can apply for our blockchain domain names, but you will also be able to find a recording of this webinar at that same URL. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Tom, for presenting. I hope you all have a great day.